Angels keeping score. 66 are swinging down in Inland Empire. Dust Devils heating up, they're reaching higher. Rocket City Trash Pandas, they're coming through. Salt Lake Bees buzzing, making their move. Dominick Lorenz breaking down the play. Halos in the infield each and every day. Prospects climbing, chasing that dream. From the minors to the majors, part of the team. Fastballs flying, big hits we seek. Catch it all on the Angels minor league report each week. Oh, each week.
Hey everybody, Dominick Lorenz from Catella Chronicles here. Welcome into another edition of the Angels Minor League Report here on Halos in the Infield, the official podcast place for you to enjoy all things Angels. Man, this is going to be a good show today. Show number 2. We kicked things off with the inaugural show last week. Now again, every Tuesday you guys are going to be hearing the sultry sound of my voice as we talk all things Angels Minor League Report. Cheers to our sponsors, 714 Tickets, Noble Airworks, Underdog Sportsbook, and OC Dugout, and everybody that makes Halos in the Infield Network happen. We got a great show for you here today as we're going to talk about the Angels top 30 prospect list that just dropped over the weekend by MLBpipeline.com. And then I want to have the opportunity to talk about 2 Angel prospects that have been on the major league roster in recent seasons, but they're kind of those fringe players that are they going to make the roster? Are they not going to make the opening day roster? And where they could fit into the Angels picture and puzzle here in 2025. So sit back, relax, and let's get into another edition of the Angels Minor League Report. Over the weekend, again, MLBpipeline.com released their next edition of the top 30 prospects for each minor league team, each major league's farm system that includes all of the minor league teams involved. Again, for the Angels, you have the Inland Empire 66ers at the single A level, high A, Tri-City Dust Devils, double A, Rocket City Trash Pandas, and of course, triple A, the Salt Lake Bees. So when you put everything together, how does it rank out? Who's in? Who's out? And we do know that the Angels are rated as the dead last 30th place farm system in Major League Baseball, not where you want to be. And I know in last week's show, we talked about my rationale why it sucks, but it's not the worst case scenario for the Angels, even though they are the worst minor league farm system in baseball. And you can listen to last week's show near the end to hear why the Angels may be in that dead last placing after some trades over the last couple of seasons. However, I want to dive into this top 30 list, kind of give you my ideas of each player. Some of them I know really well from seeing them at Inland Empire 66ers. Again, I broadcast for a living, so I'm at the Angels minor league, especially here in San Bernardino, a lot watching the players throughout the season. And then we'll kind of see how everything kind of stacks up. And we'll go from 30 to 1. Because if we start off at the top, you're just going to tune out at the end of the day because you're going to have some people that you might not know. And we'll kind of shuffle on in throughout this show. So let's start it off. The number 30 prospect for the Angels in this list so far here to begin the 2025 season. And to give some perspective just a little bit. How did the Angels 2024 list end? Well, these were the top 5 prospects at the end of the 2024 season. At number 5, you had Ryan Johnson. At number 4, you had Nelson Rada, who we talked about in last week's show. Then you had the number 3 pick, George Clausen, who was picked up in the Phillies in a trade at last trade deadline. Then, of course, Christian Moore at the 2 spot and Caden Dana at the number 1 spot. Again, we talked about Moore and Dana at length last week in the first show. So that's how the last top 5 rounded off for the Angels. Let's get to this year's prospects, and we're going to start all the way at number 30. We saw him with the Angels a little bit last year, got him over for the Boston Red Sox. Nico Cavadas is your number 30 prospect as the first baseman. A guy that is very questionable. I don't think he has a starting rotation spot with the Angels this year, with Nolan Shonowell being that guy at first base. I think it's a clear favorite to be the starting first baseman with the Salt Lake Bees at the beginning of 2025. At number 29, you have Garrett McDaniels, and this is a guy that I think has very, very strong potential coming into the 2025 season. A guy that was picked up in the Rule 5 draft, and so far through 5 appearances in spring training this season, has an ERA under 2, has held teams in check, has had relatively clean 1-2-3 frames. And I think a guy as a left-handed pitcher who's projected to come around 2025, this could be the time for Garrett McDaniels. Came over, was through the Dodgers farm system last year in 2024, had time at AAA Tulsa, primarily at High A with the Great Lakes Loons, and a little bit of time at Single A Rancho Cucamonga. So overall, last year's numbers, he was 5-7 with a 3.22 ERA. Overall, very good numbers. And I could see if the Angels need a lefty out of the bullpen come opening day, Garrett McDaniels could potentially have a spot. And so far, I liked what he's brought to the table at spring training here this season. At number 28, you have Ubaldo Soto, a very young, new prospect pickup for the Angels. As a pitcher, right-hander, has been playing primarily in the Dominican Southern League, and in 2 seasons, a 12-1 record and a 1.44 ERA. Great numbers. Only 18 years old. Got a high ceiling on the kid, not going anywhere. Same thing with the number 27 pick, Dioris De La Rosa, another young prospect projected for 2029. 18 years old, right-handed pitcher, only pitched last year, a 5-1 record, a 2.79 ERA. Very young, very controllable, and somebody that we can look for in the future. Nothing imminent right now to the big league ball club. At number 26, Randy DeJesus, an outfielder that's projected for 2027, played all of last year at Inland Empire in San Bernardino, California. And I like what I saw from the outfielder. Batted .277 with a .352 on base percentage and a .459 slug. Good numbers overall. Just 12 homers, 60 RBIs, which in the California League, which is a heavy offensive league, that is very good numbers. And especially at San Manuel Stadium in San Bernardino, if you're not familiar, here's your little cheat sheet in. To me, San Manuel Stadium, amongst the rest of the California League, is a very good hitter's ballpark. A lot of gaps from right to center field in that gap towards their scoreboard out in right center field. Same thing in left field. Ball goes all the way down to 400 to 410 deep. And a little bit of a gap shot that can go a little bit deeper out in left center field, roughly 420, 425, where there's a little bit of an apex near the hitting cages out in left field. So gap-to-gap power, 25 doubles, 4 triples. He's ascending at the right direction. I think with good numbers at the Cal League last year, you're probably going to see him at High A, Tri-City. I don't know if they go to Double A with an age of 20, still young, still controllable, 6'4", 210 pounds. I could see him starting off at Tri-City. Unless with his age being just grasping the 20-year mark, maybe he comes back for Inland Empire to start off the season. At the number 26 prospect list, number 25 prospect list, so you had Nico Cavadas at 30, Garrett McDaniels 29, Ubaldo Soto at 28, Dioris De La Rosa at 27, and then you have Randy DeJesus at 26. So there's your first 5. Let's go to number 25 prospect. And this is Hayden Alvarez, an outfielder that was just freshly signed by the Angels. He'll be at the Dominican Summer League in 2024, a .250 average. Good numbers for the youngster. Again, just 17 years old. He'll be turning 18 next week on March the 19th. Young, controllable. Let them develop at the Dominican level. Then at number 24, a right-hander that pitched a lot of time last year with the Tri-City Dust Devils at the High A mark, pitched primarily at Tri-City, not just in 2024, But in 2022, after missing the 2023 campaign, and this is the right-hander, Ryan Costiu. So Costiu comes in with a 55 rated fastball, 45 curveball, 45 slider, and a 55 rated changeup. So overall, good numbers on the bump coming out of the junior college circuit before transferring to Arkansas out of college. So kind of going up the development ranks from JUCO to Division I, coming into the Angels, and with injuries playing into a role in 2023. If you look at his stats in 2024, they might not look good, but overall, I think there's something to be had here with Ryan. After just one appearance at the Arizona League, had a bad outing, gave up multiple runs, 2 home runs in just an inning and a third. I'm going to wipe that off the slate. What did he do at a hitter-friendly league at the Northwest League? A 1-5 record, not great, but I'm looking at the ERA and the longevity. A 2.84 ERA in 18 appearances, 73 innings, and he had 79 strikeouts, and opponents were only batting 162 off the right-hander. So for me, I don't look too much into record when it comes to pitching, because you could pitch a flawless game, but could lose 1-0 with your offense not doing any work. So for pitchers, I'm looking at ERA, innings pitched, your walk to strikeout ratio, and how are batters hitting against you off average and whip per inning. So good numbers right there for the Angels. Number 24 prospect in Ryan Costiu. Then we have number 23 prospect, Cole Fontenelle. We talked about him a little bit last week in the show. And third base prospect that missed the majority of last year due to a leg injury, a freak injury, sliding into second. Some thought his career may be over, but he has rehabbed. He has healed well. We've seen him play at spring training so far this year. And I think a big ceiling mark for Cole Fontenelle. He'll probably be back at Double-A to kind of finish what he started in 2024. So props to Cole Fontenelle. He'll probably be the opening day third baseman for Double-A Rocket City, in my opinion. At number 22, you have Felix Morable, who is very young. Again, these young, controllable prospects that the Angels have signed in the foreign realms. 19 years old, 6 foot, 175 pounds, was signed in January of 2023. And he is amongst the international class and has been a top 50 international prospect for over the last 2 seasons. So highly touted, 308 average in the Angels Arizona League ACL last season, 400 on base, 327 slugging percentage, and only 4 RBIs. He gets on base, he steals bases, so a lot of good things to look at. But again, a very, very small sample size. So does Felix Morable, who has a projection of 2028. Does he start back at the ACL, or does he get a chance with the Inland Empire 66ers? At the ripe age of just 19 years old, it depends how the Angels value him at camp right now. I could see him maybe starting in Arizona and coming up halfway through the year. I think it just depends how they rate him so far in his progression from last season through spring training. At number 21, you have Capri Ortiz, a shortstop who played a chunk of last season with the Inland Empire 66ers, 113 games, a 265 average, 360 on base percentage, 368 slugging percentage, 4 home runs, 46 RBIs. He was a big part of the Inland Empire 66ers offense last season, had good defense as well, played a little bit throughout the infield as well. Switch-handed batter, throws right, 6 foot, 150 pounds, pump the brakes a little bit. 19 years old once again. Born April the 1st, 2005, so he'll be turning 20. I think, in my opinion, all signs would lead to him coming back to Inland Empire. He has a 45 rated hit, only 30 power, so he's a slap hitter with stealing capabilities. His running averages, he is ranked on the 70 percentile when it comes to running, and it clearly shows when he has 72 bases stolen last year with 50 walks. His strikeouts are still a little high with 127, but I could see him coming back to Inland Empire and kind of re-honing in on those skills to see if he can get a promotion to High A early on, middle part, or even the latter stages of the 2025 season. Now we range into the top 20 prospects. So there was 21 through 30 right there. And if you're just joining us, you shouldn't be, because you should have started from the very beginning until now, the second episode of the Angels Minor League Report with yours truly, Dominick Lorenz from Catella Chronicles, here on the Halos in the Infield Baseball Network. It's so great to have you guys along with us on the ride as we continue to talk all things Angels top 30 prospect list according to MLBpipeline.com that was released over the weekend here. As the Angels, yes, rated as dead last farm system in Major League Baseball, but we're trying to hone in and find the positives here in this top 30 list. And yes, you can call me a Halo honk, but again, these are guys that are not proven yet. These are the guys that are doing the gritty work at the minor league level and haven't even tasted the big league ballpark quite yet. So we're going to cut them some slack. We're going to give them some optimism. We're going to give them some hope, because that's what's going to get them to the next level, if that's Inland Empire, Tri-City, Rocket City, or Salt Lake, and eventually, hopefully, Major League Baseball at the Big A. At number 20, a right-handed pitcher, Camden Mianchi. Camden Mianchi with the Double-A Rocket City Trash Pandas split his time in 2024 with Tri-City and Rocket City. Combined good numbers, a 3-6 record, a 3.31 all games out of the bullpen, 23 with Tri-City, 22 with Rocket City, and overall very good numbers through 49 innings of work out of that pen. Right-handed pitcher that has a good strike-to-walk ratio of 22 walks to 68 strikeouts, a 1.47 whip. I would like that to be a little bit down from a right-handed reliever, but still very good within itself. And opponents batting .259. So something to look for. His projections say 2025, he should be hitting the big league scene. I think when you're starting at high A last year and finishing off at double A, there's two options for you. One, you start at double A again and work your way to triple A. Unless you improve at the minor league portion of spring training camp, you'll probably start at triple A. So I would say Camden would fit in that role after spending last year at high A and double A. Now, the number 19 prospect, saw him a lot at Inland Empire in 2023, spent all of last year as a starter in 2024 with the Tri-City Dust Devils, and that is Yoel Hurtado. 9-8 record, a 4.61 ERA in 26 starts, 138.2 innings of work. So what's the best ability? Availability. And Hurtado was big on that last year with 134 strikeouts to his credit and a 252 opponent's average. And kind of comparing the stats a little bit from 2023 to 2024, going up the ladder from Inland Empire to Tri-City. He only had 90 strikeouts in 78 innings of work, where he split time between a reliever and starter at Inland Empire, where he had 22 total games, 10 of them as a starter. So improving and really being stretched out from middle relief to semi-starter to full-time starter. I would say you could see him at Tri-City, and maybe they give him a big chance with that heavy strikeout ratio at Double-A Rocket City this season. Then you get to Dylan Jordan at the number 18 spot. Youngster, 19 years old. The Angels took 10 players in their first 12 selections in the 2024 draft, and he was one of them coming out of high school at this point. So 19-year-old, projectively, what you're going to see from him, probably start at the Arizona League. Not much to talk about him, had a very good combine. And if you look at his big kind of projection is what the scouts have it. 50 rated fastball, 50 rated slider, 45 changeup, 50 control. Overall, just a 40. And these rankings go from 20 to 80. So 6'3" foot frame coming out of high school, has velocity between 92 and 93 that can touch 95. I think there's a lot to work on from the right-handed 19-year-old that comes in at the 18th prospect on this list, Dylan Jordan. Then you have another right-hander. A lot of pitchers so far here, and we're going to add Wolbert Urania to the mix. A 21-year-old, 6 foot, 170-pound right-hander that I saw a good chunk of time with Inland Empire in 2023. Spent all of last year at Tri-City at the high A level. 16 starts, a 2-7 record with a 4.19 ERA, but just 77 1/3 innings in those 16 games. I want to see more longevity out of Wolbert Urena. In his minor league career with the Angels, in 2022, he was in the ACL, 23 with Inland Empire, and of course, 2024 with Tri-City. He's never pitched 100 innings. He got to 98.2 innings with Inland Empire in 2023 with a 5.66 ERA. I think stay in Tri-City, work on the longevity, stay with health purposes, and really hone in on that control. He's got a 70-plus fastball, which is undoubtedly very, very good on the velocity scale. I think what you really need to work on right now is just the control element. You go from a 70 fastball to then a 45-50 changeup curveball combination. I think you need to find that balance overall with Wolbert Urena. At number 16, a lefty from Tri-City Dust Devils, 25 years old, so one of the elder statesmen in the Angels minor league system, and that's Sammy Natera Jr. coming in at number 16. Again, 25 years old, 55 fastball, 25 slider, 40 on the changeup, and they give him an overall rating of 45 with control and 40 with overall stature. I would say this for the lefty. And last year, pitching a great year in limited, very limited innings with the Tri-City Dust Devils. 2-0 record, a 0.60 ERA, 5 appearances, 2 starts, 15 total innings to his credit. And I think as a guy who back in the day was a 2-sport athlete coming out of high school, working his way, a sprained elbow kept him off the mound for all but 15 innings last season. So you have a very athletic body, but injuries kind of plaguing him a little bit in last season. If you can get a guy like that who can throw up a 0.60 ERA in 15 innings, and you kind of take that as a stepping stone in the right direction, get that longevity going, stretching him out a little bit. If it's bullpen, if it's starting role, let's see what they work with it early on. But typically, minor league baseball, you get to your mid-20s, the clock is severely ticking. We'll see if he starts at high A. Maybe they give him a shot at the pitcher-friendly Rocket City Trash Pandas. If so, does he start? Does he bullpen? And I think that will be for the coaching staff wherever he lands to work out. But a lefty coming out of the bullpen, I'm not going to say no to that. I could see Sammy Natera Jr. coming out of the bullpen, and I'll shoot some optimism with a good 15 innings last year and hopefully a good spring now. Start him off in the bullpen at Rocket City. Now we move to the top 15. Top 15 for the Angels here on this list. Trey Gregory Alford, the right-hander, freshly drafted for the Angels, just 18 years old. And I love this. 6'5", 235 pounds, 11th round selection in the 2024 draft. A lot to like from this kid. Got a lot of buzz at Team USA's international competition. 60 rated fastball, 50 rated slider, and a 40 rated changeup. Just a 3-pitch arsenal at this point. I think, again, just like a lot of the newly drafted players that have pitched a little bit in the Arizona Complex League and that will probably start there, if not at Inland Empire this season, a lot is to be said. Pump the brakes. There's no stats on this kid right now. Trey Gregory Alford, I think a big year this year to kind of get a stepping stone and a foundational set of where his career and basically his development can exponentially go through as the number 15 prospect in the Angels farm system.
You're watching the Halos in the Infield Network, proudly sponsored by 714 Tickets. At 714 Tickets, the price you see is the price you pay, no hidden fees. Plus, enjoy an additional 10% off with the code HITI at checkout. Visit them at 2424 East Catella Avenue in Anaheim or online at 714tickets.com. Now, a toast to our friends over at Noble Ale Works. Stop by their tap room at 1621 South Sinclair Street, Suite B in Anaheim. You can also visit them online at noblealeworks.com. Enjoy exclusive drink discounts when you mention HITI when ordering. Plus, if you're heading to the game afterward, park for free at Noble. And finally, our friends over at the OC Dugout, your go-to spot for the best in sports memorabilia. From autographed gear to rare collectibles to exclusive in-person autograph signings, they've got it all. Visit them at 1928 East Center Street in Anaheim or shop online at theocdugout.com. Tell them Halos in the Infield sent you.
Then we have our first catcher at number 14, Gabriel Davialo. Davialo at this point does not have any stats as well. Freshly signed January 15th, 2025, 17 years old. His ETA to the big leagues is 2030. And I think the Angels have a very long list of catchers in their farm system because I know there's going to be two coming up here on this list. And of course, you have Logan O'Hoppe as your pretty much franchise catcher. So again, pumping the brakes, young kid, just 17 years old. Top rated catcher in the 2025 international signing class for the Angels, and they did not miss out. They have been drafting and internationally signing catchers on the double, so we'll have to look for him. Gabriel will be starting at the Dominican Summer League this season. At number 13, we've seen this guy at the Angels big league spring training games thus far. Matthew Lugo, an outfielder, 23 years old, was drafted by the Boston Red Sox in 2019. Hit power 45, or hit complex 45 rated, power 50, run 50, and arm in the outfield as number 50. So coming out of Puerto Rico in 2019, this is a guy that has plenty of minor league experience. And in 2024, we saw him at numerous levels of the Boston Red Sox farm system, and then coming over to the Angels in the Garcia trade that brought over many Boston prospects over to the Angels. He only played in one game with Salt Lake Bees last year, so we're not going to count that. We look back to his Portland Sea Dog days and Worcester days, so AA and AAA for the Boston Red Sox farm system. 315 in Portland, 250 at Worcester, and I think there's good numbers all the way around. 16 total home runs in the Boston Red Sox farm system last year with a grand total of 54 RBIs, so he can definitely put bat to ball in this case scenario. And then, of course, he was also playing at the Dominican Winter League, or pardon me, the Puerto Rican Winter League, pardon me. All the foreign players kind of get meshed into one, but you'll see him play at different parts of the Winter League in the offseason because they want to get as much work in as possible. So gaining traction in 2022, became one of the bigger prospects in the Boston Red Sox farm system going into 2023 and, of course, into 2024. Did have a slight of a thumb injury last year when he came over in the Luis Garcia trade. So I think starting outfielder spot with the Salt Lake Bees will be the best place for Lugo in 2025. Then you have one of these bigger catchers that I was just talking about here, Dario Laverde, 20 years old, played a lot of time with the Inland Empire 66ers last year, and also played a little bit at the Arizona Complex League. 277 average. I think with those power numbers that are very quiet right now, 2 home runs, 21 RBIs, defense has been his calling card thus far. I think this is a kid that's going to take more time to develop. Again, the Angels have plenty of catching prospects with O'Hoppe at the top, and I think Laverde, single A, high A, will be a good place to be. And then you had his battery mate in Juan Flores, who comes in at number 11. Speaking of defense, this is the defensive catcher that the Angels are going to look forward to moving forward. He got the call up to Tri-City last year. I think he might start at Tri-City, if not get to AA this year. Juan Flores. Yes, only 19 years old, but 60 rated as a defender, 254 with the bat. He does have a slight pop with 5 home runs and 52 RBIs to his credit, but I really like Juan Flores, somebody I saw a lot at Inland Empire, and I think this is a defensive catcher that knows how to use the chest, knows how to use the legs, knows how to work his way around the plate and really reciprocate that relationship between pitcher and catcher. Juan Flores, number 11, I think his ascent will be very high very quickly. In my opinion, the best catching prospect in the Angels farm system at number 11. And yes, MLB Pipeline agrees with me. At number 10, you have Barrett Kent, a right-hander that saw a lot of time with Inland Empire last year, did not have the stats to prove it. A 2-14 record, a 6.21 ERA in 26 outings, a 55 fastball, 45 curveball, 50 slider, 50 changeup. I think this is going to be a kid at 20 years old, at 6'4", 215 pounds. He is related, not in real life, but the way he pitches, to a Jack Kochanowicz in that sense. So I think give him time as an 8th round pick in 2023. Still plenty of development and a lot to like from a guy that has a 4-pitch arsenal. Inland Empire, Tri-City, I'd like to see him back at Inland Empire, but typically after having a full season, most teams don't like to keep guys at the same level at that time, but you never know what could happen with Barrett Kent at number 10. Then you have Denzar Guzman, the shortstop, who had plenty of time with Rocket City last year. He was a trash panda for life. He had a 206 average in that time after starting the year with Tri-City. I think I want to see Denzar Guzman back at the AA level in 2025. Then, of course, you have number 8, Chris Cortez, and this is a fresh draft pick, 45th overall pick, 2nd round of the recent MLB draft, coming out of the Texas A&M Aggies College World Series experience, 22 years old, 6'1", 205 pounds. Not much to go off him except for a 1.18 ERA in the College World Series postseason with 29 strikeouts in 15 2/3 innings. My guess, they start him up at Inland Empire and see where they can get the ball rolling. Then at number 7, Ryan Johnson, 22 years old, another, ready? You hear it? Another pitching prospect for the Angels that they just picked up. He was the 74th pick in the 2nd round of the compensatory picks in 2024. Fastball, curveball, slider, cutter, changeup, high level of control from the righty, 6'6", 215 pounds. Put him on the Inland Empire 66ers. I think you're going to see a lot of great prospects that were freshly drafted in 2024 be on this 66er squad in 2025. At number 6, we dove onto him last podcast episode last week. Nelson Rada, the outfielder, 19 years old. He's had the experience at big league camp so far this year. He comes in at number 9. Then at number 5, a bullpen piece. We saw him just a little bit with the Angels coming over in a trade, and that's Sam Aldegeri, 23 years old, 6'1", 180 pounds. He was in the Carlos Estevez trade with George Clausen, who we're going to talk about in just a little bit. And I think Sam Aldegeri is going to start off maybe as a bullpen piece with the Angels, but I see him going right to Salt Lake Bees and getting more progression in his development. And you never know where he could come up throughout the 2025 season. Number 4, Josua Lugo, the shortstop from the Dominican Summer League, just 18 years old, a 301 average last year. Very young, very controllable. Does he have the power? 5 home runs and 37 runs batted in 53 games. So we'll see where they develop him. Do they bring him over to the Arizona Complex League, or do they drop him off right on in to the Angels single A ball club with Inland Empire? But over 50 on his hit, power, run, arm, and fielding numbers, and an overall grade of 50. Now we get to the top 3 here with the Angels. 2 of them we talked about. 1 of them we have not. And number 3, the 23-year-old George Clausen coming on over in that Carlos Estevez deal. After missing 2022 following Tommy John surgery, he had a very big, or missing 2023 due to an injury from 2022. He pitched on 4 different levels last year, finished off with Rocket City, where he went 2-3 with a 5.65 ERA in 7 appearances. Overall, 6-5, 3.1 ERA between the Phillies and the Angels farm system. And I think there's really a lot to learn and a lot to like from Clausen. I think it's very early to tell, but coming in as the number 3 prospect, a right-hander who can throw a bunch of strikeouts in a very short amount of time. If you look at his bio, a 70-plus fastball, 55 curveball, 55 slider, a 40 changeup, working on the control a little bit. Could he start at Double-A again? I think so. I think that's where Clausen will start the 2025 season. And then, of course, number 2, Caden Dana. We talked about him. He just got put back to minor league portion of camp for spring training. So Dana will probably start with AAA Salt Lake in 2025. And then number 1, Christian Moore, the top prospect for the Angels to begin the 2025 season. And Christian Moore, so far, his story speaks for itself as the 8th overall pick in the 2024 draft. So there is the Angels' top 30 prospects to begin the 2025 season. A lot to like, a lot of names that hopefully we'll get to learn through the season throughout their development in the Angels minor league system, if it's the Sixers, Tri-City, the Rocket City Trash Pandas, or the Salt Lake Bees. Now, to kind of wrap up the show here after going through that list 1 through 30 here on the Angels minor league report, Halos in the Infield is the place to be. Cheers to our sponsors, of course, 714 Tickets, Noble Aleworks, Underdog Sportsbook, and OC Dugout. I want to talk about 2 guys briefly that I think have a chance at breaking camp and making the Angels 40-man roster, if not the active roster, for opening day, which is just a couple weeks away. And the first guy I want to talk about is Kyren Paris. Kyren Paris has had a buttload of opportunity here at spring training so far, just 23 years old. I got to know him a couple years ago when I was with a different Angel blogging site, got to interview him a lot. And in 21 games in spring training so far, a 381 average, 2 home runs, 8 RBIs, 1 stolen base, and an OPS of 1219. I think there's a case to be made because right now, if you look at the Angels infield, you have Nolan Shonowell at first. You have Newman and Kinnery at second and short. And then third base is Anthony Rendon. Oh, wait, he's not playing. He's out for the majority of 2025. So it could be Luis Rengifo. But if you really look at it from a different perspective, I think this Angels infield is wide open right now. Luis Rengifo has missed a number of games with a hamstring tightness. Newman and Kinnery have not really jumped off the page and have been uber exciting so far. I think right now there is a chance, and I think a strong consideration for manager Ron Washington, that Kyren Paris could be on this opening day roster. Could he be a starting position player? Let's pump the brakes a little bit. Don't know that quite yet. But could he make the roster and kind of be that Michael Stefanik from the last couple of years of that first grade A choice that goes back and forth between AAA and the big leagues? I think Kyren Paris, he has the speed, he's put on the weight, he's added power to his game that we haven't seen, and he's worked really closely with Ron Washington this offseason and at spring with the defensive side of things, and we've seen him at shortstop the most. So could Kyren Paris be the opening day starting lineup guy at shortstop until Zach Neto gets back? There's a chance because Luis Rengifo right now is not thrilling me with not being available at this point in the injuries. If Luis Rengifo's healthy, yeah, Luis Rengifo is the guy batting 1 or 2 in the Angels starting lineup. But if he's not ready to go, if there's big question marks, I really do feel, and I am in support of Kyren Paris being on this opening day roster because, yes, you don't know if spring training translates into opening day in the regular season. But if it does, I am in favor of Kyren Paris And I think he has done well more than enough to warrant that starting lineup or at least bench role on the Angels' active roster to begin the 2025 season. Last but not least that I want to get to before we close up shop here on another edition of the Angels Minor League Report here on the Halos in the Infield Network, we got to go pitching. And we're going to go to Jack Kochanowicz because he had opportunities with the Angels in the regular season. He pitched in 11 games, had a 3.99 ERA, and his numbers at the end of 2024 weren't bad at all. He had a number of opportunities as I look through the stats right now. In the latter portion, his final 3 appearances of 2024, he threw quality innings, 7 innings in all 3 of those opportunities, gave up 4 total earned runs in those 21 innings, and they were against teams, 2 of them against the White Sox, 1 against the Texas Rangers. So he had great numbers. He threw strikeouts. He was effective in those outings as well. A grand total of 10 strikeouts and just 1 walk. I like that ratio. Could he fit into that 5th and final starting rotation spot that right now the Angels starting rotation looks like this? You have Kikuchi, you have Hendricks, you have Soriano, and you have Reed Detmers playing a role and Tyler Anderson playing a role. Is Detmers' job up for grabs? Do the Angels roll the dice and go with 6-man rotation, or do they put Kochanowicz in the bullpen and use him as that swing guy in the middle? To me, right now, if you're riding the hot hand, Kochanowicz, 6'7", 228 pounds, 24 years of age, I think you have to put him and Detmers into a comparison because Detmers, I feel, is the odd man out of this starting rotation. Kikuchi locked in, Hendricks locked in, Anderson locked in, and Soriano locked in after a good 2024 season. So what does Kochanowicz bring to you? Well, so far in spring, a 1-0 record in 3 appearances, 1 ERA, 9 innings, and a 6 strikeouts with a 0.67 whip to his credit. So overall, great numbers. He just came off an appearance for the Angels against the Cincinnati Reds this past Sunday. 4 perfect innings. That is a great stepping stone in the right direction for a guy that, in my opinion, is battling. I really do believe he is battling with that 5th and final mark. And to put comparison to Reed Detmers a little bit, Detmers this spring, 4 appearances, a 2-1 record, a 2.31 ERA, and 11 2/3 innings with 8 strikeouts and a 1.03 whip. We're used to this with Reed Detmers. We have seen Reed Detmers pitch exceptionally strong in spring training, and then somehow it never translates to the regular season. If it doesn't, does Kochanowicz take that spot? I'm going to guess on the veteranship, Ron Washington gives Reed Detmers the benefit of the doubt. But how short is that Detmers leash after the last couple of seasons getting swapped on down to AAA Salt Lake to try to figure out things and it not working out so well? What kind of leash does Reed Detmers have this year? So I'm going to say Kochanowicz either in the bullpen or could be the opening day starter for AAA, but he may be the first phone call for the Angels if Reed Detmers has a problem. But would I be upset if Kochanowicz gets into the rotation or onto the big active roster come the end of March when the Angels go to Chicago to open up the year? Not at all. I would be in favor of Kochanowicz because I think, in my opinion, out of minor leaguers, even though Kyron Paris and Kochanowicz have worn the Angels uniform, they have not garnered starting rotation spots on a full-time basis like Shonwell, Neto, O'Hoppe, Ward, Trout, Adele, Moniak. You get the picture. I'm going to say I really like Paris and Kochanowicz, and by far, they have been the all-star MVPs of the Angels spring training this year. If I had to give 3 awards to the big ball club this year for the Angels of who's been at camp and playing on a regular basis, here are my top 3. I think offensively, Kyron Paris has been an MVP. The numbers speak for himself. We talked about it just a little while ago. On the starting pitching side of things, definitely Jack Kochanowicz. 4 perfect frames against Cincinnati And I think the numbers speak for himself with a 1 ERA coming into the 4 appearances thus far, and an opportunity to really break camp with the Angels. Last but not least, if we go to the bullpen side of things, we talked about it at the very early onset of this show, the number 29 prospect, Rule 5 pick in Garrett McDaniels, the left-hander out of the pen that we got over from the Dodgers organization, I think has a chance to be a southpaw out of this bullpen for the Angels when they break camp in just a couple of weeks. So Paris, Kochanowicz, and McDaniels, I would say 3 players to look out for to see, do they indeed make the Angels active roster when the Angels board the plane from Arizona, or more so Angel Stadium because they have that freeway series, 1 at the Dodgers, 2 at the Big A this year, to fly on out to Chicago to play the White Sox on opening day here in just a couple of weeks. But a lot of prospect news. I know that's a lot of names and a lot of info. Go to MLBpipeline.com, look at the Angels, dive into who is in the top 30 prospect list. And throughout the season, we will also talk about guys that maybe aren't in the top 30 prospect list once minor league games start to get going here at the end of March, beginning of April, because AAA starts near the end of March, and then the rest of the time, it'll be the first Friday. I believe that is April the 4th. We are starting minor league baseball this season. So a lot to look forward to. These are the incoming weeks. Baseball is back as the Angels continue spring training at the Arizona Cactus League in Tempe, Arizona. But I'm Dominick Lorenz of Catella Chronicles here on Halos in the Infield Network. Like, comment, and subscribe to all things Halos in the Infield, because every Tuesday we are dropping a new Angels minor league report with yours truly. 714 Tickets, Noble Ale Works, Underdog Sportsbook, OC Dugout. Love those guys. They keep this train running. And also cheers to the guys at Halos in the Infield Baseball Network, Todd, Fernando, the whole crew, especially the producer of the stars that makes all these graphics and video happen, Mr. Randy Yaz. He is absolutely amazing. A+ work each and every week. We wouldn't be here with those guys and the rest of the crew, and I'm so happy to be a part of that crew in combination with the partnership of Halos in the Infield and Catella Chronicles. If you're a fan of Catella Chronicles, Angels and Ducks, that's what we cover. I know it's Ducks season. It's been a good season so far, so come on over to talk some Ducks hockey as well. But this is the Halos in the Infield Angels minor league report every Tuesday with yours truly, Dominick Lorenz from Catella Chronicles. But for now, we talk top 30 prospects. I gave and voiced my opinions on Kyron Paris, Jack Kochanowicz, and Garrett McDaniels. What are your opinions on these situations for the Angels that they have going into the final weeks of spring training? And of course, we want to hear what you have to say. Like, comment, and subscribe. I want to hear what you have to say, and maybe your comments will be incorporated into the future of this show. But until next Tuesday, Halos in the Infield fans, I'm Dominick Lorenz from Catella Chronicles. This is the Angels minor league report on the Halos in the Infield Network. Love our sponsors, 714 Tickets, Noble Ale Works, Underdog Sportsbook, and OC Dugout. And until next Tuesday, as always, Halos in the Infield fans, be happy, be healthy, go Angels. And until next time, this is the Angels minor league report.